Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You can't say whether you have a non-disclosure agreement, but if you didn't have a non-disclosure agreement, you most certainly could say, I don't have a non-disclosure agreement. Yes?
You're so smart, Jimmy.
Thank you very much.
The lawsuit argues the agreement is null and void because it was not signed by Mr. Trump, referred to in the document by the pseudonym David Dennison.
Oh, God.
Daniels' lawyer says Mr. Trump purposely did not sign the agreement so he could later, if need be, publicly disavow any knowledge of the contract and Daniels. According to the complaint, Daniels had an intimate relationship with Mr. Trump that began in the summer of 2006 and continued well into 2007. The adult film star and director, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, considered sharing her story in 2016 after the Access Hollywood tape surfaced.
You just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know way. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
The complaint alleges Trump's longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, intervened, paying Daniels $130,000. Daniels says Mr. Trump knew about the payment, which she calls hush money. Last week, Cohen admitted to paying Daniels, but insisted that neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was party to the transaction with Ms. Clifford, and neither reimbursed me for the payment, either directly or indirectly.
Wait. So here's the question. Did Michael Cohen breach the non-disclosure agreement by disclosing that he had made a payment to Stormy Daniels? You know, this whole thing is so sloppy and such a mess that, of course, it was done by a Trump administration. Although, you know, they say Michael Cohen is not part of the administration. He is part of the administration. He's not part of the administration. This is crazy. This is nuts, okay? And the idea that Michael Cohen was speaking out about an agreement to pay Stormy Daniels, Stephanie Clifford, Peggy Peterson, oh, Jesus, a porn star, a human being, by the way, to stay quiet, to be quiet, to shut up, to never, talk to anybody about, like, why would anybody ever want to admit having sex with that man? Oh, my God. But did he breach the contract by saying that there was a contract that was paid? This whole thing just reeks. It just reeks to high heaven. And you know, this is just the only reason why it's important is because the Trump administration is just, well, it's worse than whatever they say is meaningless. Just now, he had this little dog and pony show. He started his little trade war. I have no idea, what countries he's going to exempt. It seems like, and you can't really tell with him. It seems like every one of his economic advisors that are left, and there's like, the Goldman Sachs guy, the president of Goldman, he's gone, right? He left because he thinks that this is a job killer and he doesn't want it done on his watch. But what's so weird is he has his advisors say there will be no exemptions for any countries. It's a universal 25% tax. Once it gets to the border, the steel or the aluminum, 10% on the aluminum. And then he downshifts into, well, maybe we'll exempt Canada and Mexico if they give us a better deal on NAFTA. I don't even know what to tell you. I really don't know what he did just now. I mean, the NAFTA trading partners maybe will be exempted while, North American Free Trade Agreement is Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So maybe these three countries will renegotiate the deal or something like this, and they'll be exempted during the negotiation. I have no earthly idea what he meant by what he said or whether it has any. He signed a proclamation citing national security. How in the world does private business have to do with? I don't even understand. I really don't. But you see, this all goes back to the Stormy Daniels issue, because this is an easy to understand issue. And when you understand that nothing that this administration does or says is to be relied upon, and that everything that President Trump says is mumbo jumbo or gibberish, or you have to wait to see what the hell he signed. He signed some proclamation. I don't know, what it is. All I could tell you is that the European Union has already made a list of American exports that they are going to start taxing. And that includes everything from T-shirts to cranberries to tobacco to Florida orange juice to bed linens to Harleys and motorcycles, and bourbon from Kentucky, and soybeans and poultry and pork, which pretty much affects every Trump state, every state that voted for Donald Trump. So I have no idea. Aluminum foil, aluminium. I don't understand it, but the Republican lawmakers are furious. So shouldn't that make me happy? I don't know. Because I don't know what the hell he just signed. I have no earthly idea. I'll tell you that the Republican 107 lawmakers went to Donald Trump and said, please, please do not do this. Don't start a freaking stinking trade war. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And he doesn't care. He just went ahead and did it. And what's creepy is that his chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, was advising against it. But this is a Goldman Sachs guy. I have no idea. I can't tell you. I can't tell you what it is. I could just tell you Scott Walker from Wisconsin. He's furious. He says they're going to tax everything. They're not going to take anything from motorcycles to beer to aluminum foil as exports, and this is what we export. And that Harley and Miller Coors and Seneca Foods, it's going to cost them more to make their products, and they're saying 5 million jobs will be lost. This is a huge job-killing tax hike. It would wipe out what families gained from the tax reform. Pennsylvania is saying Hershey is going to go, have to increase the price of the little Hershey's Kisses because they use it for packaging. Iowa farmers are the first target. They're saying soybeans will be, China isn't going to take the soybeans, and how easy a target agriculture is. And this is the first place they're going to look. And this is what they're going to. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what he signed. I really don't know what he signed. I have no idea. I have to wait. But everybody is saying, the Republicans, I should say, are saying that in Michigan, we'll lose 30,000 jobs. In North Carolina, the pork and poultry business is going to go. I honestly don't. I could tell you what generally is said about trade wars, and that is that they never work. We had the Smoot-Hawley tax during the Great Depression. It actually caused the Great Depression. This man is you can't believe a word he says. This is the problem. This is the problem. But I will tell you that the reason why that Stormy Daniels clip that I played, having to do with Michael Cohen announcing that he did pay her and that he wasn't reimbursed and that Trump didn't have any knowledge of it, makes the entire Well, let me start from yesterday. Okay, here's Sarah.
You've said repeatedly that we've addressed our feelings on that situation in regards to the Stormy Daniels payment. But specifically, can I ask, did the president approve of the payment that was made in October of 2016 by his longtime lawyer and advisor, Michael Cohen?
Look, the president has addressed these directly and made very well clear that none of these allegations are true. This case has already been won in arbitration, and anything beyond that, I would refer you to the president's outside counsel.
When did the president address specifically the cash payment that was made in October of 2016?
The president has denied the allegations against him. And again, this case has already been won in arbitration. Anything beyond that, I would refer you to outside counsel.
You said that there's arbitration that's already been won? By whom and when?
By the president's personal attorneys, and for details on that, I would refer you to them.
But you're aware of them, so what more can you share with us?
I can share that that the arbitration was won in the president's favor, and I would refer you to the president's outside counsel on any details beyond that.
I want to follow up on something you have said twice now this week, which is when asked about that payment to the president, you've said that not that I'm aware of. Have you asked the president this question?
I'm sorry, can you be more specific?
Sure. It's both Jeff as well as Monday to the Wall Street Journal reporter. You were asked about whether the president knew about this payment his longtime lawyer made to facilitate it, rather, Stormy Daniels. You said then and again today, not that you're aware of. Have you asked the president this question?
Yeah, I've had conversations with the president about this, and as I outlined earlier, that this case had already been won in arbitration, and that there was no knowledge of any payments from the president, and he's denied all of these allegations.
Sarah, but I just want to, is there a reason why you're not answering the actual substance of the question on the payment itself? Because it's come up a few times now. Can you
I believe I've addressed this question pretty extensively, and ongoing litigation, I'm not going to comment any further than I already have.
All right, so the president was furious. I told you, we played this yesterday. It changed the entire trajectory of the show because she did this press conference just ahead of us going live. But it was perfectly obvious yesterday that she was just making crap up. Either that or somebody was telling her bull crap and that she was repeating it. No one could figure it out. And I said to you, every reporter is currently calling, the attorney for Donald Trump, who is Michael Cohen, who Sam Nunberg went crazy saying, poor Michael Cohen, he got so screwed. Michael Cohen is in so much trouble. And it's not just Stormy Daniels that Michael Cohen is in trouble over. Michael Cohen is in trouble because Michael Cohen was writing to Russians, one Russian named Dmitry Peskov, who is the spokesperson for Vladimir Putin, during the campaign and beyond, asking about the Trump-Moscow deal, which he was working with Felix Sater, who he had worked with on Trump Soho, which turned, that's under investigation by Mueller as well. So Michael Cohen's in trouble for that. And then Michael Cohen is also being looked at by Mueller because some peace plan for Ukraine was supposedly given to Michael Cohen on the sly, and Michael Cohen passed it on to either Michael Flynn or the president. Nobody knows, because he's denied it under oath and all this stuff, where the president, President Dennison would agree to drop sanctions against Russia in exchange for some peace plan in Ukraine. I don't know. Okay, and so Michael Cohen's already on the radar. Now Michael Cohen is out there saying that he paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 for something the president denies he ever did, and that he did it without the president knowing. And then there was arbitration that was won on behalf of the president. Now, those things can't all be true. In fact, none of those things are true. Because Michael Cohen, acting as the lawyer for Donald Trump in a matter to silence somebody Donald Trump had sex with, had to ask his client what to do about it and couldn't do anything without notifying his client that he was doing it. That's number one. Number two, Michael Cohen complained to others, Sam Nunberg and others, out loud, that the president never reimbursed him for the $130,000. And number three, when you look at this a temporary restraining order, which is what the arbitrator, whose name is, I wrote to her last night, Jacqueline Connor. She's a former judge who now does arbitration, a retired judge. And I wrote to her last night and I asked her two questions. I said, I don't expect a response, but it would be nice. But I said, Your Honor, respectfully, I have a two-part question. How is it possible that a shell company, because when you look at the order, the temporary restraining order, the action was brought by Michael Cohen's shell company that he set up to facilitate the payment to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. So I asked her, how can a shell company have standing in this matter when it's Donald Trump who is the plaintiff here, who is the person that requested the arbitration? I mean, how is that possible that a shell company has standing in a matter on a contract that was never signed by one of the parties? Because Donald Trump never signed that stupid arbitration. He never signed the hush agreement, is what they're called, a non-disclosure. He never signed it. So I'm wondering how Michael Cohen's shell company has standing, because when you look at the temporary restraining order, it says that the matter was brought before Judge Jacqueline Connor by EC, which is the shell company. And then the second question I had was, doesn't the target of the restraining order, isn't the target of the restraining order entitled to be heard? Due process being what it is and all. And then I look at the agreement And the agreement that, was never signed, by the way, provides for one party being able to go in front of a judge to enforce the agreement. I don't know if that requires you to notify the other party that you're doing it, but it's an ex parte, which means one party. The whole thing is such a mess. And because Sarah Sanders isn't being told the truth, she promoted this issue, and now everybody knows it.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams introduces its Spring 2018 home collection of classic, modern, and new traditional silhouettes in a vivid spectrum of colors, textures, patterns, and prints. The new spring collection features a modern slant with clean-lined and comfortable styles that pay tribute to iconic American designs from the mid-century to the late 1970s. Experience the new collection in comfort at a signature store near you, or peruse the entire collection in e-catalog online. Find a store and shop online at mgbwhome.com. Join the Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams Comfort Club, a customer loyalty program that offers you 20% savings every day with exclusive access to special member-only offers and services like complimentary in-home design. It's free. It's easy to join. Sign up now. Start saving today at a Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams signature store near you or online at mgbwhome.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show. Independent media is the future, and Randi's leading the way. And it's ironic, the more freedom she gained, the more expensive it got. It's crucial now, more than ever, to keep this show pure and free of corporate influence so Randi can tell the hard truths. The first step to change is an unbiased media, and for that, we need your help. So please, go to RandiRhodes.com/support and subscribe, you bastards.
Hello, Progressive Voices Tune-In listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. So before we get started, Donna, let's listen to this clip.
Young woman named Elizabeth Moreno who had some back surgery, a very common kind of surgery, and the surgery worked. And of course, after her back surgery, you get a little prescription of opioids.
Because you need painkillers. You want to be careful with them.
Right. And she took them for a few days, not very long. And then when she went for a follow-up visit about 2 months later, the surgery worked great. She was long off opioids. The doctor said, we have to test your urine. Just pee into a cup. And boom, $17,850 bill.
So we want to thank Kaiser Health News and NPR for the clip. Now, Adonis, almost $18,000 for a urine test. What's going on, and what can listeners do to avoid the same fate?
Oh, my God, don't pee in a cup?
Yeah.
No, even if you're out of network, I think the estimates of the actual cost for the test were like $100. It wasn't as if, even if you're out of network, my God, how much markup could there be in this system? And here's this poor woman who has done everything that you would ask of her to do from the health provider's standpoint, to follow the directions, care for herself after the surgery, do what she needed, but then decide she needs a urine test to test for drugs afterwards?
Right.
That's one of the reasons I turned down genetic testing for cancer markers a few years ago, because I said to the person, what in the world would I learn from that testing? I've already had cancer.
Yeah, I have it. It's kind of too late now.
Or to have the thought that that information would go to an insurer in the future to say, we don't want to cover this woman because she's got the marker for XYZ.
Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This is Stormy Daniels' attorney.
Michael, you're alleging that Michael Cohen has been attempting to intimidate Ms. Clifford into silence and shut her up. How has he attempted to do that?
Well, he's actually, Anderson, attempted to do that by means of a number of steps, including filing this bogus arbitration against her, communicating through her prior counsel, making threats to her relating to what may happen to her from a legal perspective in the event she does not deny allegations of the affair, etc.
How recent have these threats, in your words, been?
These threats continued until, in fact, only a few hours ago.
Oh, my
when
God.
Mr. Rosen, Lawrence Rosen, the attorney who now purports to represent Mr. Cohen and the entity EC LLC, sent email correspondence to me threatening that if Ms. Daniels continues to talk, she may be subjected to significant additional damages.
Yeah, they're telling her that she will owe Donald Trump $1 million per violation of their secret agreement to cover up their affair. And apparently Stormy Daniels has photos or had photos and tapes and text messages and all this stuff. And of course, Michael Cohen, if you listen to what Michael Cohen has been carrying on in the press, then you understand that Michael Cohen is the person who breached the agreement, because Michael Cohen disclosed, A, that there was an agreement, B, that there was a payment of $130,000, and then went to the arbitrator, and on behalf of the shell company he set up to effectuate a payment to her, brought some action in front of a retired judge in arbitration, saying that his corporation had standing on behalf of what? His friend, Donald Trump? This thing makes no freaking sense, and I'm not the only one who thinks it. Stormy Daniels' lawyer said, this idea that poor Sarah Sanders was put out on the stage yesterday. He has only to conclude that she didn't know that what she was saying was false, but it was.
I personally like Ms. Sanders. I think she has a near impossible job. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm confident that she didn't know that it was nonsense when she effectively told that to the world, but it's absolutely bogus. It's nonsense. Any claim by the administration that Donald Trump won in arbitration is no different than me claiming that I won the Super Bowl a few weeks ago. It's complete hooey.
Yeah, I've read the arbitration order today. It's a temporary order that is superseded, as far as I can tell, by your lawsuit, which simply includes that as one of the things that your lawsuit is being brought against. I want to talk about some.
Go ahead. Let me just interrupt you if I could. I mean, it's even more simple than that.
Yes.
If you look at the temporary restraining order, there's one party adverse to PP, which is my client,
Peggy Peterson,
which is EC. That's the entity that Mr. Cohen set up to facilitate the payment, to hide the payment. At least that's our position. Donald Trump is not even a party to the arbitration.
I don't get it.
How can you win an arbitration that you're not even a party to? It's impossible. And if there's one thing we know from the last 5 or 6 weeks, it's that, and if there's one thing that Mr. Cohen has made absolutely clear in his statements to the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and anyone else that would listen, is that supposedly EC is different than Donald Trump. Well, if EC is different than Donald Trump for the purpose of the payment, then EC is different than Donald Trump for the purposes of the arbitration. You can't win something you're not a party to.
Seriously, dude, I don't even understand how this happened. I mean, and I did print out the temporary restraining order. It was arbitrated by ADR Services, Inc. by the Honorable Jacqueline A. Connor, a retired judge. Typically, retired judges do arbitration. Arbitration is a horrible thing. They do arbitration now very routinely in corporate America. I have signed agreements that say that if there's any complaint or dispute, you will go to arbitration. And what it does is it keeps you from having your day in court, and it allows a retired judge to make a decision after they listen to you and after they listen to somebody else, and whatever they find is binding on you without the benefit of interrogatories or discovery or a jury. I mean, it's a horrible thing, and it's cheaper than going to court, and that's why corporations force you into it. That is my opinion on arbitration. But that said, this was an agreement that was bound by the rules of arbitration in California. ADR Services in L.A., in Los Angeles, did appoint the retired judge, Honorable Jacqueline Connor, who I did write to last night to find out how is it possible, because the claimant on the temporary restraining order is EC LLC. Now, what is EC? EC is Essential Consultants. That is the shell company that Michael Cohen set up to effectuate the payment that he claims he was never reimbursed for and Donald Trump owes him or somebody owes him. And they're not even a party to the contract that wasn't signed by President Dennison. Because Dirk Diggler was taken, so he went by, David Dennison. She's now Peggy Peterson. The whole thing is just so ridiculous. And it's funny, they picked Peggy Peterson because it spells pee-pee. Yes, it spells pee-pee. And Dee-Dee. So anyway, she actually, the judge says that Peggy Peterson, Stormy Daniels, Stephanie Clifford, oh, Jesus, and there is a separate agreement, a separate document that tells you who these people are. So it makes no sense that they would use aliases or AKAs or DBAs. But it says that she is prohibited from even making a court filing. Meanwhile, when this was issued, Michael Cohen had already been talking to the press saying that, a payment was made to her, acknowledging that there was some sort of a non-disclosure agreement. I don't get it. I don't get it. So you know what? Remember Jonathan Turley? Jonathan Turley's sort of a libertarian. He's got a libertarian bent to him. And we used to talk to him all the time on the show about warrantless wiretapping and things of that nature, which obviously was illegal. And that goes back to Comey going to John Ashcroft's bedside because John Ashcroft was, under the influence of pain meds after a gallbladder surgery. And he was being asked to sign off on warrantless wiretapping. And Comey was the acting attorney general at the time because Ashcroft was under the weather and he ran to his hospital room and saved the day. But back in the day when we were discussing warrantless wiretapping, I used to always talk to Jonathan Turley about it because he is a brilliant attorney and he's a very libertarian sort of an attorney. And so he's always sort of on the fence about any unwanted, untoward, unwarranted government intervention in your life. Well, Turley was on Morning Joe this morning. I haven't seen him in a really long time. He looks very good to me. And I know he suffers from debilitating back pain. So it was good to see him, good. But he actually said this morning what I said, and that is that Michael Cohen is the person who nullified any agreement that the court might find was in place, even though Donald Trump didn't sign it. See, that's the thing about this contract. This contract was not signed by Donald Trump, and it wasn't signed by Michael Cohen acting as Donald Trump. There was a separate line for Donald Trump's signature, and then the attorneys also signed. Now, Donald Trump didn't sign it. And Michael Cohen didn't sign it acting as Donald Trump, okay? So it was unsigned. However, there was an exchange of money. $130,000, according to both attorneys on both sides of this issue, have admitted that there was a $130,000 payment made by Essential Consultants Michael Cohen. And so some judges might find, I guess, that there was a contract because money was exchanged, and that's the purpose of a contract. If you don't have money exchanged, then it isn't a contract. It can't be a contract. You have to, in order to have a contract, have money as, being exchanged for anything, for services, for silence. These non-disclosures, first of all, I got to say, America's got an issue with this. The non-disclosure agreements that I am familiar with, that I understand as legitimate, that I believe serve a purpose in American business life, are for things like patents and technical discussions on products and innovations and things like that. But when, and maybe, company secrets or, sources and methods, how people do things, within the fine. But this non-disclosure agreement to force a person to shut down about sex, that ought to be illegal. Because, sometimes you're traumatized by the sex and you don't even know that you're traumatized by it till many years later. The whole thing is just, it's so bizarre that you could, force a woman. And then there's the other side of it where she did accept the money. But God only knows why. Maybe she needed it to pay legal bills that ensued because they were harassing her. And this was a way to get them, out of her life. You just don't know. But anyway, Jonathan Turley was on Morning Joe this morning, and he said the same damn thing I did, because great minds think alike, that Michael Cohen nullified the agreement when he started talking about it.
Cohen could not have made the situation worse for his client or for himself. Ultimately, none of this is following a trajectory we've seen before. Even the use of an arbitrator to issue this type of prior restraint doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to say that he won an arbitration that the other party has never been a party to. So we're in a strange area now, and this is not going to turn out well for any of the parties. In terms of Stormy Daniels, she took $130,000 in to stay quiet. And so in terms of Trump not signing it, there is still a plausible argument that she has a contract here that has to be fulfilled. On the other hand, the contract itself is just riddled with problems. And so her lawyer has some very good arguments to make, in my view, that this is not binding, including the argument that Cohen himself nullified the agreement.
Cohen himself nullified the agreement. Why? Because he disclosed that he made a payment on an agreement that refuses to acknowledge that there is an agreement. It's so strange. It's so bizarre. But the most important part of this, well, if you're Stormy Daniels or if you're any woman targeted by Donald Trump, the most important part is that he puts a boot on your throat so you can't speak. I mean, that's just disgusting. And yes, he's very litigious, and he always is too cute by half. And Michael Cohen is a smarmy lawyer. You know, the idea that Michael Cohen has been on Mueller's radar screen for various things to do with Russia, don't let that be lost, because the Stormy Daniels thing only makes people who aren't familiar with the Russia thing more familiar with Michael Cohen's name. And in that way, it's a good thing. But if you're Stormy Daniels, this is important because, you know, somebody's putting a boot on your throat while they're telling the whole world that you're some sort of a whore and you took $130,000, you know, in exchange for your silence about having sex with Donald Trump. Okay. But see, the thing is that this may violate campaign finance laws. Why? Because the payment was made to her just ahead of the presidential election in December, you know, just prior to. And that could be considered a campaign contribution, an in-kind contribution to buy something of value to the campaign. And according to Michael Cohen, what was valuable to the campaign after the Access Hollywood tape was that Stormy Daniels didn't tell her story. And so they decided that they would pay her. And so that $130,000 ought to have been reported as part of the campaign's in-kind contributions. And they didn't. And so that becomes a matter for, again, the Federal Election Commission, which is as toothless as it gets. They don't even have prosecutorial power, which is why her lawyer was smart to go to the court.
The situation's even worse because of the report that Cohen said later that he was delayed in paying the money because he couldn't reach the president. And then there was this suggestion that he might have complained to others that Trump hadn't actually ponied up the money.
Oh, my God.
So all of that creates a rather target-rich environment for a prosecutor.
Yeah.
This is, it's not a stretch to say that this can be a campaign finance violation. Doesn't mean it is. But as you've already noted, someone got indicted for something like this, John Edwards. Mueller would not be moving too far off his mandate to ask about it.
And so Jeremy, you say we know that Mueller's gone there.
We know that Mueller is asking questions about Michael Cohen. This kind of gets overlooked in the other pursuits of Mueller's, Manafort, Gates, Flynn, but Cohen has. There's a lot out there, right? And so, but it does get lost that people who have spoken with Mueller's team have said recently that Cohen appears to be focused. Now, we don't know whether or not he was asking about Stormy Daniels, but I think after the developments of the last few days, it's safe to assume that he certainly will now.
Willie?
And, you know, Casey, Bob Mueller is already looking at Michael Cohen. We should remind people as part of the Russia investigation, deals that may or may not have been made at Trump Tower. So his eyes are already on Michael Cohen. His eyes may already be on emails of Michael Cohen. So this could sort of metastasize into something else if you lay in the Stormy Daniels layer on top of it.
No pun intended, the Stormy Daniels layer on top of him. Seriously, this is why, well, if you're Stormy Daniels, it's very important that your free speech rights, you know, a man has breached a contract by announcing to the world that there was a contract that should never have been announced and that he was using a shell corporation to declare himself a claimant in a matter that he isn't a party to. He's a lawyer to another party or a friend to another party. I don't see how Michael Cohen has standing, but it doesn't seem to stop this guy from making claims and announcing things that shouldn't be announced. But the important part is that on top of all this stuff with Russia and, the back channels and the peace plans and the sanction talk and the Trump Tower talk and all the stuff that went on with Felix Sater and Michael Cohen and emails saying, could you believe 2 Jews from Brooklyn could get this man elected? Now you got this.
To speak to Randi, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
Herky Jerky has a screaming case of March Madness, so let the games begin. Try Herky Jerky's delicious game jerky and meat sticks. All Herky Jerky staples for more than 25 years. They're talking about their famous buffalo, elk, and venison, which contains less fat and carbs than beef. And because theirs are farm-raised and grass-fed, they don't have that woodsy taste like some of the other kinds. If you've never had buffalo, elk, or venison meat, it's time to give it a try. They are healthy, they are tasty, and this month, all of the game jerky packs are $5 off. The venison sticks come in hot and mild, and they were once voted best in the country at a major food show on the West Coast, and from that point on, it's been their best-selling item. Whether you're already a fan of game meat or have never tried it, now's the time to take advantage of the savings. $5 off all month long and free shipping with 2 packs or more of anything in the store, including the beef, the bacon, and the turkey, too. No promo code needed. Just try some today. Go to herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
This is John Aravosis, sitting in for Leslie. I'm here with our producer, Mark Grimaldi. Since the Parkland shooting, there's been my God, we've been talking guns every episode, which I think is a good thing, obviously, because people are still talking about this issue, which is great. But what's been interesting, Mark, I thought, was particularly how the Republicans in the NRA are really starting to freak out. These meddling kids are making too much of an impact.
Their entire world changed, and they don't have talking points. There's no way you ever get that out of your head, and all you can do is fight for those who are no longer here, and that's what they've been consistent on. They're fighting for those who no longer have voices, and they're trying to honor their memories to make sure it doesn't happen again, and they're doing the same for the students of Newtown, who many of us thought after that incident was when things would change. Those kids who were murdered would be teenagers now. So this
is Sandy Hook, where literally they killed 5- and 6-year-olds.
I just don't even know how. There's still, when I think about that, I can't even square it up. I have a 3-year-old and who's not that far off from that age, and I don't even know how I could. I hate to say it, but I don't even know how I could go forward myself. And for the people who not only were able to do that, but then you have to somehow bear the brunt of fighting that fight against such a powerful organization. I mean, think about the emotional toll that you're fighting every day after being traumatized like that. The bravery and courage of these kids. They deserve nothing but the support of every American. Right. Yet, they're fighting against other Americans who are attacking them simply for trying to honor the memories of their friends who were murdered.
Well, and that's, I think, one of the hardest things of working on the gun issues is the personal toll, I think, can be even more than other issues because of the threats you get. I've spent decades working on gay rights, which then became LGBT rights. And that was hard enough. I mean, that took its own toll. But what I didn't have, which people who work on gun issues have, is these constant threats and death threats. These kids are now getting death threats. Their parents are getting death threats. One of the parents of a girl that was murdered there in Parkland has come forward now and asked President Trump to publicly denounce the death threats they're all receiving.
Wow, I didn't even see that.
And these kids are getting death threats because they're speaking out against the guns that killed their friends. And people with guns who are trying to claim that they're responsible citizens are making death threats against the kids, saying that these guys aren't responsible, which only proves that they're not responsible. Yeah, exactly. Somebody making death threats shouldn't have a gun. It kind of proves the point.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. And we're not going to have this meeting take place until we see concrete actions based on them following through with concrete actions. And again, this meeting won't take place without concrete actions. The president will not have the meeting without seeing concrete steps and concrete actions, concrete and verified actions, concrete and verifiable action on that front. We have concrete and verifiable steps. The president has accepted that invitation on the basis that we have concrete and verifiable steps.
You're a genius.
Oh, man. Like I said, Stormy Daniels conducts herself with more dignity and intellectual heft than Sarah, who reads this concrete. That was today. That was today's press briefing. She was asked about Stormy Daniels in the press briefing, and she said, well, I got in trouble last time, basically, so I've said all I'm going to say about it is...
They have made some major promises.
Oh, sorry.
When did President Trump, after that photo, see Stormy Daniels? Did you text, email? Do you have any other information?
I don't. We've addressed this extensively, and I don't have anything else to add.
To follow up on April's question, knows about the arbitration involving Stormy Daniels. So does he remember speaking with his lawyer about that? Does he remember meeting Daniels back?
I've addressed this extensively. I don't have anything else to add.
Oh, man, you brought up the arbitration. You did from the presidential podium speaking for the president, which means the president also nullified the non-disclosure agreement through Sarah. That's why I'm saying Stormy Daniels is outsmarting the president. How do you think the president's going to do against, the inscrutable Koreans? Seriously. Unbelievable. And then these stupid tariffs. I got to tell you, everybody's exempted. Mexico is exempted. Canada is exempted. And he's invoking, it's about national security. That's why I'm invoking Section 232 of the trade rule. And then he tweets like a moron, just like he did with the Muslim ban, just like he said with the Muslim ban. He kept on saying, Donald J. Trump is calling for a complete and utter shutdown of Muslims, right? And the court said, this is obviously religious discrimination because he keeps on identifying the religion that he wants to ban, not countries, not places. And he's doing the same thing when he tweets about NAFTA. Okay? The president isn't invoking national security. The president is invoking a trade deal he doesn't like. And so he's violated the section that allows him to do tariffs because he keeps telling everybody it has nothing to do with national security. It has to do with NAFTA. I don't like it. And I'm trying to coerce Canada and Mexico to do things differently the way I want it done. Well, you can't invoke 232 because you're using it to coerce Canada and Mexico into lowering tariffs. Or, by the way, the whole world is moving on without us. This is the last thing I'll say on this trade deal because it's bogus. It's absolutely stupid. It's an empty promise, just like this Kim Jong-un meeting. It's a completely empty promise. There's no there. There's no. There's nothing. We don't even know what we would ask. What we're going to say to Kim Jong-un, give up all your give up your hydrogen bomb you've been working on, that you've been starving your people for. And he'll go, oh, okay, just, all we want is some food and fuel. Please give me a break. This is ridiculous. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can't, like I said, the best thing about this story about poor Stormy Daniels, and I do feel bad for her because, she's a sex worker, okay? She's a confident woman. This is what she does for a living. Could we not be so damn judgy? Please, you watch the damn performance. You watch it, you buy it. It's $1 billion industry. Can we all stop pretending that none of us watch it? Nobody in this. We don't watch. Because it's like violent video games. Makes you want to shoot things. Yeah, I understand, but that costs more. So I don't understand. The best part about the story is that you now know what a lousy negotiator only I can fix it is. Now you know. And this is what they brought up this morning on Morning Joe, which usually I don't, play for you. But this was smart. This was, exactly what I was thinking. So here you go.
We've been seeing this guy on the national stage now long enough to know that so often It's just all talk. It's all bluster. He talks about the art of the deal.
Yeah,
the deal never comes through.
Never.
Yes. All bluster about the wall. There's not going to ever be a deal.
Well, Joe, do you think he'll actually meet him? That's my question. Is do you think this meeting will actually ever take place?
Because he will do
He'll
what
make that a big
he'll
show.
do what is easy. He won't read a one sheet on North Korea. He won't figure out how the United States has been fooled. The past 4 presidents have been fooled since 1994, or the past 3 presidents. He does the easy things, and if he can get him at Mar-a-Lago, even better. But he talks about the wall, but there's no deal for the wall, right? He was going to be the greatest deal maker. He talked about immigration reform. Remember, you go out, you give me a deal on expansive comprehensive. Everybody's smiling around the table, but it's all bluster. There's no deal because he doesn't know how to make a deal. And then you have the same thing with guns. He went out a couple of weeks ago and promised he was going to do all of these things.
Paraded the families at the White House, put them on live television.
Yeah, mocked Republicans saying that they were scared of the NRA. It ends up he's scared of the NRA. He's petrified of the NRA. So again, all talk, all bluster, no deal, because he is horrible at making deals.
It's so true. Think about everything he was supposed to make a deal on. Obamacare. He was going to give you a health care plan that costs less and gives you more, and it's going to be great, and it's the single best plan out there. There is no plan. He lied about that. Guns. He sat there and he told Dianne Feinstein, Dianne, could you put your bill in with Joe's bill, meaning Joe Manchin's bill? That was an assault weapons ban. Oh, you people, you're afraid. You're afraid of the NRA. Turns out he's afraid of the NRA. Why? The NRA is infiltrated with Russians who gave him $30 million over here. Oh, Mexico's going to... Who's going to pay for the wall? Mexico. No, there's no deal for the wall. Then he's going to do the easy thing this year, right? It's already March, almost April. He's going to do the infrastructure. He's going to do... And then he puts tariffs on freaking steel. Yeah, that you need to build infrastructure. It's so stupid. Then he said he's going to do, an immigration. It's going to be a bill of love. It's going to be a bill of love, I tell you. The DACA, the fake deadline that he set, that by destroying DACA is come and gone. Today is March 9th. It's over. The courts had to... I told you, the only part of our government that's doing their job is the judicial branch. And they stepped in and they said, you know what? You're so into... Here's what we're going to do, because your government isn't doing jack crap, and so you're up in the limbo. You're like a little baby angel flying around with little baby wings, in limbo. I guess that's what limbo is, right? Purgatory? I don't know. I'm Jewish. But, well, you believe in purgatory, right? Yeah. I have no idea what that is. I just imagine little babies with wings flying around going, where do I go? Where do I go? But, so... I mean, he didn't do anything on DACA. He said the same thing with the tariffs. The tariffs were going to be tariffs of love. He's always a creepy old man. He's always. And with Stormy, he's a creepy old man. And now all of a sudden we got the NDA. We got it. Because the lawyer, who's just so cute, Michael Avenatti attached the non-disclosure agreement to the lawsuit. It's only 28 pages, the whole thing. I read it. It's unbelievable. And guess whose name is in there? As somebody that Stormy Daniels told, as somebody that she shared her sexual encounters with Donald Trump with. Gloria Allred's client, who hasn't... I mean, her mother actually gave her a porn name. When she was born, the girl that's mentioned in this, when she was born, she was given the name Angel Ryan. Isn't that like the perfect porn name, don't you think? I mean, it's better than Peggy Peterson or Denny Dennison or Dirk Diggler or even Deep Throat. Well, can't really beat that one, right? But her birth name was Angel Ryan, and then she changed her name. What is her... I can't even remember her name. It's like what is her name? What is her name, the other porn star? Oh, never mind. I'll just go to the phone. Robin Mesa, Arizona.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
Hey, you kind of wonder, like, if this is Trump surrounds himself with such incompetence, and this whole Stormy Daniels thing. You wonder how many other agreements he forgot to sign, where everyone's like looking at him. You just wonder if this is like the tip of the iceberg of.
Yes, of course it is, because there are other people named in the non-disclosure that were talking to each other, and she had to warrant who, she had to make a list of anybody that she might have told about her dalliances or her affair with Donald Trump ahead of signing the non-disclosure. She had to say who else has this information. And there's 4 people. So, and one of them is Gloria Allred's client. So, yes, there are other people. And obviously, you know, this is why Melania is in it for the money and sleeps in a separate bedroom, because this man's been cheating on her since day one and signing people to non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, I know that's funny. But the reason why I called was kind of a little bit different topic. And it's about the whole DEA coming down on doctors for the opioid drug problem.
Yes.
You know, they basically said we can't fix the illegal problem. And since they got involved 2 years ago, the deaths have shot up 40%.
Yes.
Mainly because they're just scaring everyone in the streets. The DEA is working now for the insurance industry because the insurance industry loves this. You know, they're just saying, hey, let's all those extra drugs we don't have to pay for now. And I swear to God, they're just making the problem worse, because now instead of being under a doctor's supervision, you know, under a controlled pill that was, you know, approved by the FDA, and of course the FDA is controlled by the pharmaceuticals, you know, where were they when this whole problem broke out? I didn't hear anything from the FDA. Or maybe it's just a media problem. But it just seems like the DEA is not doing their job. You know, they're coming down on the wrong people.
There was a great report. I don't remember which homework page or what day it was, but we did a whole show about these 2 DEA agents who blew the whistle and said that the agency was making their job impossible. That they were finding, you know, suppliers that were, I forget the name of the company, but there's one big company that distributes all of Purdue Pharma's, oxys, and that one little town that had 300 people in it had 5 million pills in a little pharmacy, and that the DEA, thought that was suspicious. And when they went to try and prosecute it, they were told to stand down, basically.
Well, I think the problem with the pill mills has been mostly snuffed out. You know, I think there was a problem.
It's not the pill mill. It's the pill mill was the symptom. They saw all these pills going to the mill, but it was the distributor, and they were trying to get authority to bring them to justice. And the DEA got their marching orders from on high, saying no, the pharmaceutical companies, they will stop giving us money, like the NRA, and they'll run ads against us, and so don't prosecute them. There were these 2 police officers. I'll look it up and I'll tell you what it is. I want to say, his name was well, all I can think of is, Michael Avenatti right now. Sorry. He's so cute. But we did a whole day on that. Bill in Pueblo.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for everything, Randy. I was just I've been listening for a few days now, and it just bothers the heck out of me. How come I don't hear anybody talking about, in particular, the Abramovs and the steel? They own a bunch of steel operations all over, Portland Steel, and it used to be CF&I here in Colorado. It's all shut down, rusty buildings, except for Evraz. The Abramov brothers steel. What
Abramov
operation.
brothers?
The oligarchs, Roman and Alexander Abramov.
Agar.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the Russian oligarch brothers, the Abramovs. They're the steel magnates, and they've come and bought up the remnants here, and they own Portland Steel in Oregon. But now when Trump opens up Canada for imports, the Abramovs also they make a whole bunch of steel in Canada, and plus they can import anything through Canada and then sell it into here. So basically, by opening up Canada, the world is opened up. I just wondered if you had any comment on it. It sounds like
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay. Jim in Massachusetts.
Hey, Randy, love you. I was just thinking about the blaming video games and movies for violence and all that kind of stuff.
Ridiculous.
It kind of reminds me of the PMRC thing back in, 84 or 85, where heavy metal music was making kids kill themselves and rape and kill and all that kind of stuff, and Judas Priest and Ozzy were taken to court and all that.
Yeah, the devil. It was all the devil. It was all the
backward masking and the secret messages,
Poor Rob Halford. All he wanted to do was be gay and wear leather. That's it. That's all he wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. I know they're talking about suicide solution. you clearly don't understand what that song is about. It's about drinking and how it can kill you.
It was so ridiculous. They always do that. These are the people that coarsen the culture. These are the people that permit, a racist, hateful talk. These are the people that, say everybody's declared war on them, on their Christmas holiday. War.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. They're the ones that coarsen the culture, because if you appear to be a decent person and you don't tolerate, like, the N-word, okay, then, you're not decent, you're politically correct, and let's just call it like we see. I mean, listen, there have been so many scientific studies that show that there is no correlation between video games and school shooters, video games and shooters at all, video games and actual. In fact, you know what the science shows? It shows it keeps your 12 to 17-year-old boys busy. And when a new release comes out, actually crime goes down.
They promote teamwork. They promote critical thinking skills.
No, it actually, the first-person shooter doesn't promote team skills. What it promotes is keeping you busy. And when they release a new video game, crime actually goes down because the boys are busy. The boys are busy.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
We don't have to accept hideous sacrifices that harm the poorest among us.
We need governments, our opinion, to put a price on carbon.
Stark contrast on climate between U.S. and Europe at Energy Industry Conference. Bad news for elephants, good news for U.S. electric grid powered by clean solar and wind. Plus,
as the Arctic experiences one of its warmest winters ever, Europe has experienced one of its coldest.
The Arctic just had its warmest winter on record, and polar scientists are kind of freaking out.
All of that freaking out and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
They do lie to us repeatedly about global warming, and then it's global cooling, and then it's global. Yeah. The ice age is coming, Time Magazine had, then the earth is going to blow up and burn up, and now they just call it global whatever.
No, they don't, Sean Hannity. Stop lying, and please get some new shtick. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, as Sean Hannity continues to use the same lies year after year after year, you have actual new news from the Arctic, and it's not very good.
No, it's not. And it is now official. The Arctic just had its warmest winter on record. That's according to the scientists at the U.S. National Snow and Ice Data Center, who say that it is likely caused by global warming. Sea ice hit the lowest winter extent ever recorded. Temperatures in the Arctic are closer to those typically seen in the month of May, and it's kind of freaking out polar scientists. U.S. scientist Mark Serez called the conditions, quote, unprecedented and crazy, crazy stuff.
You're saying the temperatures in the Arctic in March are like the temperature is usually in May?
Yeah.
Wow.
What happens in the Arctic, of course, doesn't stay in the Arctic. The loss of sea ice in the Arctic has been linked to changes in the jet stream, causing extreme weather events. While the Arctic is experiencing its warmest winter ever, Europe is experiencing one of its coldest winters ever. And the northeastern U.S. is seeing back-to-back intense winter storms.
Don't tell Sean Hannity.
Meanwhile, stark contrasts on the global energy transition were on display between the U.S. and Europe at the big Sarah Energy Industry Conference in Houston this week. In a rambling speech, Energy Secretary Rick Perry touted the surge in U.S. fossil fuel exports and called for making fossil fuels cleaner.
I call it the new energy realism we would welcome and help lead, for that matter, a global alliance of countries willing to help make fossil fuels cleaner rather than abandoning them.
Man, when did Rick Perry become such a drama queen?
Oh, he was always that way. Not surprisingly, Perry did not mention climate change, but Europe-based oil companies are going in the opposite direction. Right after Perry spoke, the CEO of Royal Dutch Shell said the world, quote, has to change because climate change will be so disruptive. The CEO of British Petroleum, Bob Dudley, called for efficiently managing what he was calling the global energy transition to meet emissions cuts under the United Nations Paris Climate Agreement. Dudley also called for governments to put a price on carbon emissions that cause dangerous global warming.
We need all sectors of the economy to bring emissions down, and consumers as well. And we need governments, in our opinion, to put a price on carbon. That would enable us to do a whole lot more.
So the CEO of oil company BP is calling for a carbon tax?
Yep, that's right.
Again, don't tell Sean Hannity or Rick Perry.
Meanwhile, some bad news for elephants. The Trump administration's Fish and Wildlife Service has quietly announced that it will now allow the importation of endangered elephant body parts from African nations on a case-by-case basis, a reversal of President Trump's statements earlier this year that he would keep the Obama-era ban on such trophy imports.
Well, you know how those forgotten men and women in the Midwest love their elephant trophy hunting.
But some good news, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has unanimously rejected the Trump administration's attempt to block a lawsuit led by 21 young people who are suing the federal government for failure to act on climate change. The ruling means that the children's case, brought by the nonprofit environmental law group Our Children's Trust, can now go forward in federal court. Finally, a new study of decades of U.S. weather data has calculated that solar and wind energy alone could reliably supply 80% of all U.S. electricity demand. By investing in system-wide upgrades to the electric grid and deployment of battery storage, which, by the way, would also create jobs, the U.S. could have emissions-free clean electricity by mid-century.
Clean energy and jobs.
Yep.
Wrong kind of energy. Wrong kind of jobs, I guess.
For the Trump administration.
For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget you can download our reports anytime via Stitcher, TuneIn, or iTunes. Find us, follow us, and share us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Why would you allow an attack like this on the United States?
Why have you decided the Russian authorities, myself included, gave anybody permission to do this? Nothing has changed since you and I talked last time in St. Petersburg. Some names have popped up. So what? They could just as easily have been the names of some Americans who are sitting here and interfering in your own political process.
But it wasn't Americans, it was Russians. And it was hundreds of people, a monthly budget of $1.25 million, all designed to attack the United States in a cyber warfare campaign. You're up for re-election right now. Should the Russian people be concerned that you had no idea this was going on in your own country, in your own hometown?
Listen, the world is very large and very diverse, and there is a fairly complicated relationship between the United States and the Russian Federation. And some of our people have their own opinion about this relationship. You mentioned a number of names, some individuals, and you're telling me that they're Russians. So what? Maybe being Russian, they're actually working for some kind of American company. Perhaps one of them used to work for one of the candidates. I have no idea. These are not my problems.
Wow. Megyn Kelly keeps going to Russia to talk to Vlad. She keeps doing sit-downs with Vlad. This is her second sit-down with Vlad. And now she goes back there and she says, the investigation is moving, and every name that comes up seems to be a Russian, and they're connected. And of course, the two of them have the same story. Vlad is saying maybe it was one of the it's Hillary, right? It's always Hillary. Maybe it was Hillary. Maybe it was Hillary. No, they happen to be Russians, and you're so what? He says, so what? This is not my problem. The Internet Research Agency was paid by the Kremlin. This is what she brought up there: $1.2 million per month, every month during the Trump campaign, in order to infiltrate various, Facebook and Twitter and organize rallies. And the Trump supporters who were swept up in this, for the most part, they still don't believe that they were taking marching orders from freaking Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's just so amazing how all of this, and so she keeps going back to Russia. Well, let me tell you something. If you want to read like a really fabulous, exciting story about how Trump and Russia got so buddy-buddy and so close, Michael Isikoff and David Korn got together and wrote this 23-page masterpiece in Mother Jones. Now, I've chosen just an excerpt to wet your whistle, to get you to read this maybe over the weekend. Just print it out, take it to the toilet, when you're having your issue Saturday morning after the Friday night, whatever. This is just amazing. And you're going to just sit there and go, oh my God. And the media, for the most part, hasn't reported this little section of these 23 pages. It's called What Happened in Moscow, the inside story of how Trump's obsession with Putin began. Okay, by Michael Isikoff and David Korn. And it was so weird because Michael Isikoff and David Korn's name came up when they were arguing about the dossier and whether or not they were relying on the Steele dossier to get the FISA warrant against Carter Page. And the answer was no. No. The FBI had its own intercepted, the security, our intelligence communities had intercepted phone calls. They had phone calls of Carter Page. They had phone calls of Michael Flynn. They had phone calls of Manafort. They had phone calls of oh, by the way, Manafort now is sporting. I mean, this could be the new Make America Great Again hat in the way of an accessory, a must-have for Trump supporters. Manafort has now got to wear 2 ankle bracelets. And I'm not talking about the little gold chains that women sported in the 70s or even in the 50s. I'm not talking about the little anklet, which for some reason grosses Howard out. I don't know why, but whenever he sees the one with an anklet, he goes, why does she wear that? It's a mommy thing because his mother wore one. But anyway, he's now got 2 court-ordered tracking devices in the form of ankle bracelets on his ankles because he's got a case pending in D.C. where he's accused of, committing fraud against the United States of America. And now he's got these additional charges that were brought in Virginia. So the Virginia court ordered him to remain in his house because they know he's going to flee. And I think he will. I really do. That's my bet. Right? So the Virginia court wasn't able to see the monitoring from the D.C. court's ankle bracelet, and so they had to slap another one on him. I'm saying, if you think a Make America Great Again hat is a good look for you, you must go further and get the next big accessory for Trump supported, the ankle bracelet, for committing fraud against your own country. The irony is just going to be so sweet. I would love to see people do that. However, this portion of the What Happened in Moscow, the inside story of how Trump's obsession with Putin began, this section here is a must read, okay? They're talking about before the Miss Universe pageant, at the time that Trump had the Miss USA pageant, which no one talks about. He had the Miss USA pageant in Las Vegas, okay? And the Russians came to the Miss USA. Amin Agrarlov. Oh, and by the caller was talking about the Abramovich family, not the Abramoff. Jack Abramoff was a lobbyist that worked for Greenberg Traurig, who went to jail like in 2004 or 5, I wanted to, or 2007. He's also a member of Chabad. Remember that? Yeah. No, that was Abramov. You're talking about the Abramoviches who 10 years ago bought steel mills in the United States. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, so Emin Agalarov, not to be confused with the Abramoviches or the Abramovs, was trying to become a really big U.S. pop star, okay? And so the Agararovs all came to the Miss USA pageant, right? And here's where we'll begin. They're from Azerbaijan. You should know that. Okay. Emin cultivated the image of a rakish pop star chronicling a hedonistic lifestyle on Instagram by posting shots from beaches, nightclubs, and various hotspots. He brandished hats and T-shirts, and it actually says with Randi sayings. Randi in London means horny, but thanks, Michael Isikoff, for the shout out. David. With Randi sayings such as, if you had a bad day, let's get naked. But his music career was stalled, so for help he turned to Rob Goldstone. During a January 2015 meeting, Emin Agalarov said, Trump told him, quote, maybe next time you'll be performing at the White House. Let's go back to 2013. In early 2013, now, Trump says he didn't decide he was running for president until, what, 2015? Except we've discovered that Make America Great was trademarked in 2012, and there's other information of Trump actually using a PAC that he created in 2012 to pay off women. And it was a PAC for Trump's presidency, so he already knew. So in 2013, he tells Goldstone was looking to get Emin more media exposure in the United States. And a friend offered a suggestion. Perhaps Emin Agalarov could perform at a Miss Universe pageant because the event had a reputation for showcasing emerging talent. The 2008 contest had featured an up-and-comer named Lady Gaga. Trump would later brag, with his usual hyperbole, that this appearance was Lady Gaga's big break. See, and I thought it was at the Human Rights Campaign dinner where I sat in the front row and saw her live. Yeah, I thought that was her big break, also in 2008. Trump would later brag, but okay, about the same time, Goldstone and Emin needed an attractive woman for a music video for Emin's latest song, and they wanted the most beautiful woman they could find. It seemed obvious to them that they should reach out to Miss Universe. So this led to meetings with Paula Shugart, the president of the Miss Universe organization, who reportedly directed them to Trump. She agreed to make the reigning Miss Universe, Olivia Culpo, available for the music video. Within the Miss Universe outfit, Culpo, who had previously been Miss USA and was widely considered a Trump favorite. And over the course of several conversations with Shugart, Goldstone and Emin discussed where the next Universe contest would be held. At one point, Emin proposed to Shugart that Miss Universe consider mounting its 2013 pageant in Azerbaijan. That didn't fly with Shugart. At a subsequent meeting, Emin revised the pitch. Why don't we have it in Moscow? Shugart was interested but hesitant. The pageant had looked at Moscow previously, but it had not identified a suitable venue there. And she was fearful of running into too much red tape. What if you had a partner who owns the biggest venue in Moscow? Emin replied. Between myself and my father, we can cut through the red tape. The venue Emin was referring to was Crocus City Hall, a grand 7,000-seat theater complex built by his father. Moreover, the influential Aris Agalarov could help smooth the way and bypass the notorious bureaucratic morass that was a regular feature of doing business in Russia. A native Azerbaijani, Aris Agalarov was known as Putin's builder. He had accumulated a $1 billion-plus real estate fortune in part by catering, like Trump, to the super wealthy. One of his projects was a Moscow housing community for oligarchs that boasted an artificial beach and waterfall. Agorarov had been tapped by Putin to build the massive infrastructure, conference halls and roadways and housing for the 2012 Asian-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Vladivostok. He had completed the project in record time. The venture and others, the construction of a soccer stadium for the World Cup in Russia and the building of a superhighway around Moscow, had earned Agorarlov's Putin's gratitude. In 2013, Putin would pin a medal on Agorarlov's lapel, Order of Honor of the Russian Federation. When Shugart first mentioned to Trump the idea of partnering with a Russian billionaire tight with Putin to bring the Miss Universe contest to Moscow, the celebrity developer was intrigued. At last, here was an inside track to break into the Russian market, and Agorarlov agreed to kick in a good chunk of the $20 million the pageant budget would call for. Trump was all about it. A Putin-connected oligarch would be underwriting his Miss Universe endeavor. But the deal had to include something for Emin. Trump's Miss Universe company guaranteed that Emin could perform 2 musical numbers during the show. He would be showcased before a global television audience. He and Goldstone believed this could help him achieve his dream, cracking the American pop market. Kim Jong-un has a better chance of cracking the American pop market with K-pop, okay? Much better. Gangnam Style. Just saying. But even before that, there would be a payoff for Emin. In May, Culpo showed up in Los Angeles for the one-day shoot, you know, with the Miss Universe. Emin was filmed strolling through a deserted nighttime town looking for his love to the tune of the song Amor. Anybody? Amor? Mm-hmm. And a sultry woman played by Culpo walked in and out of the beam of the flashlight he carried. A few weeks later, the video was done. Emin held a release party at a Moscow nightclub owned by his family. It was a lavish affair. Russian celebrities dropped by. Shugart and Culpo flew to join the celebration. In June 2013, Trump arrived in Las Vegas to preside over the Miss USA contest, which was owned by the Miss Universe company. Goldstone, Aris Agorarlov, and Emin were in town for the event. Emin posted a photo of himself outside Trump's hotel off the Vegas Strip wearing a Trump T-shirt and boasting a hat, exclaiming, "You're fired," the tagline from Trump's hit television show, The Apprentice. Trump had yet to meet the Agorarlovs, but when they finally got together in the lobby of his hotel, he pointed at Aris Agorarlov and exclaimed, "Look who came to me. This is the richest man in Russia." Agorarlov is not the richest man in Russia. Vladimir Putin is the richest man in Russia. On the evening of June 15th, oh, this is just so vile. Don't break me. This is so vile. On the evening of June 15th, the 2 Russians and their British publicist were planning a big dinner at Cut, a restaurant located at the Palazzo Hotel and Casino. Much to their surprise, they received a call from Keith Schiller, Trump's longtime security chief and confidant, his bodyguard, informing them that Trump wanted to join their party. "Sure, please come." At the dinner, about 20 people in a private room were arranged. Emmett sat between Trump and Goldstone. Aris Agorarlov was across from Trump. Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, acted as the businessman's consigliere. You're out, Tom. He was on the other side of Goldstone. Also at the table, and for people who follow this Russian story, this name is just going to pop out for you, but if you don't, it's okay. Also at the table was an unusual associate for Trump, Ike Cavaladze, the U.S.-based vice president of Crocus International, an Agorarlov company. In 2000, okay, you want to know who Ike Cavaladze is? In 2000, the GAO, our Government Accountability Office, they issued a report. And their report identified a business run by Ike Cavaladze as being responsible for opening more than 2,000 bank accounts at 2 U.S. banks on behalf of Russians so that they could launder $1.4 billion from individuals in Russia and Eastern Europe around the globe in an operation that the General Accountability Office said, quote, was for the purpose of laundering money. Now, for legal people, for the purpose of laundering money is straight to the point. Got to give it to him. His main client, Ike Cavaladze's main client, was Crocus International. Ike Cavaladze told the General Accounting Office, "It's a witch hunt. Funny, Russians know American slang, don't they? Witch hunt. Anyway, Trump was charming. He was solicitous of his new partners. He asked Aris, what kind of jet do you have? He said, I got a Gulfstream 550. The Russian billionaire quickly noted, though, that he had a Gulfstream 650 on order. I don't know. This is just so strange to me because when Rush Limbaugh talks about his Gulfstream, they're always talking about their Gulfstreams. It's just such a small world, isn't it? The things they talk about amongst themselves, Rush, Trump, Ike, Aris, Agralars. Interesting. But Trump said, if that were me, I would have said I was one of the only 100 people in the world to have a Gulfstream 650 on order. And then he said, see, there's nobody in the world who's a better self-promoter than Donald Trump, talking about himself in the third person. When it comes to doing business in Russia, it's very hard to find people there you could trust, he said. We're going to have a great relationship, he said. After the dinner, part of the group headed to an after-party at a raunchy nightclub in the Palazzo Mall called The Act. Shortly after midnight, the entourage arrived at the club. The group included Trump, Emin, Goldstone, Culpo, and Nana Merriweather, the outgoing Miss USA. Trump and Culpo were photographed in the lobby by paparazzi. The club's management had heard that Trump might be there that night and arranged to have plenty of Diet Coke on hand for the teetotaling Trump. The owners had also discussed whether they should prepare a special performance for the developer, perhaps a dominatrix who would tie him up on stage, or a little person transvestite Trump impersonator. What? The group was ushered to the owner's box, where Emin had an unusual encounter. Alex Soros, the son of George Soros, the billionaire philanthropist who funded opposition to Putin, was there as Nana Merriweather, the outgoing Miss USA's date. Emin started chatting with Alex Soros and invited him to see him in Moscow, and Soros said, "You should know, I'm no fan of Mr. Putin. I'm a big admirer of Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the oligarch who turned on Putin, who served time in a Siberian prison for doing that." Emin laughed it off. The Act was no ordinary nightclub. Since March of 2013, it had been the target of undercover surveillance by the Nevada Gaming Control Board and investigators for the club's landlord, the Palazzo, which was owned by Sheldon Adelson. Oh my God. After complaints about its obscene performances, the club featured semi-nude women performing simulated sex acts of bestiality and grotesque sadomasochism skits that a few months later would prompt a Nevada state judge to issue an injunction barring any more of its lewd and offensive performances. Among the club's regular acts cited by the judge was one called Hot for Teacher, in which naked college girls simulate urinating on a professor. In another act, two women disrobe and then, quote, and this is from the complaint, one female stands over the other female and simulates urinating while the other female catches the urine into wine glasses. Now, what's also important, I'm just going to stop there, okay? It's all about he's a Europhile, is what he is. He took them there because he knew that Sheldon Adelson hosted this club in his mall and that this is what was featured there. Urination shows. It's just so interesting that this is what the germaphobe is apparently on tape doing in Moscow, and that the first time he took Russians to a sex club, it was a sex club that featured urination acts. Oh, it's such a small world. Everybody talks about their giant Gulf streams and then different streams. It's always about the streams. So the Russians kind of knew what Trump was into. So that when Trump went to the Ritz-Carlton for Miss Universe, which he announced in 2013 on that Miss USA stage with the Agararlovs. They knew what he was into.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams introduces its Spring 2018 home collection of classic, modern, and new traditional silhouettes in a vivid spectrum of colors, textures, patterns, and prints. The new spring collection features a modern slant with clean-lined and comfortable styles that pay tribute to iconic American designs from the mid-century to the late 1970s. Experience the new collection in comfort at a signature store near you or peruse the entire collection in e-catalog online. Find a store and shop online at mgbwhome.com. Join the Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams Comfort Club, a customer loyalty program that offers you 20% savings every day with exclusive access to special member-only offers and services like complimentary in-home design. It's free. It's easy to join. Sign up now. Start saving today at a Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams signature store near you or online at mgbwhome.com.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network, and here's a clip from Tara Buster with comedian Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com.
Republicans need us fighting with each other, especially along racial lines. That's why you'll never find a Republican legislator who will challenge their constituents to evolve, to confront their prejudices and say, why am I such a racist? What they will encourage them to do is nurse their prejudices like baby sucking binkies. For example, like this, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services edited its mission statement Thursday in a move that seemed to reflect the current administration's approach to immigration. The agency's mission statement formally read, USCIS secures America's promise as a nation of immigrants by providing blah, 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 right? Now the mission statement reads, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services administers the nation's lawful immigration service, securing the homeland and honoring our values. What values? Greed is the only value. But you see what they did? Unless you're a Native American, if you're a European American, you're an immigrant. And being a nation of immigrants used to be a point of pride. But now, we're no longer a nation of immigrants. I guess we're a nation of ignorance. This is Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com. That was a clip from my show, Tara Buster, recorded live every Saturday evening on the RDT Daily Facebook page and streamed simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook Live. Replayed Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern on Progressive Voices, or anytime on demand on the Progressive Voices app. Support RDT Daily and the Progressive Voices Network. Remember, we stick together, we win.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal. To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You ever see the story where it's 1999, I'm on Meet the Press, a show now headed by Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd. He's a sleeping son of a bitch, I'll tell you.
Oh, my God.
And they showed it this morning, 1999, and I'm talking about North Korea. You got to take them out now. And then they have Clinton saying, we are pleased to announce that we have made a deal with North Korea. Well, you know how that deal turned out, right? We gave billions and billions of dollars and lots of other things, and we got nothing. But they show me young, handsome. I said, why couldn't I look like that today? I should have run back then, right? I should have run back then. I would have done this earlier.
Jesus. Oh, God.
So, But they had me literally saying, I don't know if anybody saw it, they play it a lot, but literally saying, to a very good guy, actually, but saying that we got to do something about North Korea. That was when it wasn't in vogue. And then they have Clinton giving everything away, and then they show, and here we are today with a man who's nuked up.
Somebody's nuked up. So the president on Saturday held himself a little rally, and I do mean held himself a little rally, because that's what he was there to do. I mean, can you even say the name of the candidate that he was there to support? Can you even tell me the name? I don't think so. He wasn't building support for Rick Saccone, a state senator from Pennsylvania who's trying to get into the federal, the national house. It was about building support for Trump's little fragile, tiny ego. And neither one of them is looking real good right now. I mean, this was just amazing. And they held it in a place called Moon Township, which is good because it didn't look like anything that should happen on this planet. And Moon. It's Pittsburgh, basically, is what it is. And the only thing that Trump did for this candidate was to position himself to throw him under the bus when he loses tomorrow. And so that's why this is time sensitive, because the election, the special election, is tomorrow to replace one Tim Murphy, a Republican who won that district by 23 percentage points. Donald Trump won it by 20. Mitt Romney won it by 17. Just so you know how freaking red this part of Pennsylvania is, it's super, super red, and it's a dead heat. In fact, I think Nate Silver at Real Clear Politics has Lamb, the Democrat, up by 6 points right now. I mean, this is incredible. This is just amazing to me. So what did Trump do? He goes out there just like he did. He promoted Luther Strange. Then when Luther Strange lost, he said, I really wasn't for Luther. I was for Roy Moore. Then when Roy Moore lost, he was a bad candidate. That is what Trump was doing, And all he did was talk about the weirdest crap. He talked about himself. He talked about a death penalty for drug dealers, which I don't think plays very well in Pittsburgh, which is part of the opioid epidemic, where mom could be selling pills, in order to support her drug habit and the rest of the family's drug habit. And he's out there talking about Duterte's death penalties, extrajudicial killings by the motorcycle gangs that just, parade through the Philippines and just kill anybody who does drugs, anybody who sells drugs, anybody who looks like they might be interested in. I mean, it's just unbelievable. This is crazy. This was really nuts. And so this is something everybody, I wish he would keep on saying this. I'll play you the short version, and then I'll play you the long version sometime, well, maybe we'll have time in this segment, because the long version is 6 freaking minutes. This man did 6 minutes on killing drug dealers. I'm not kidding. It was like the big, he was up there for like 75 minutes. He thinks he's doing stand-up. He doesn't believe he's president of the United States, calling Chuck Todd sleepy-eyed son of a bitch. There were babies there. There were toddlers there. There were teenagers standing right behind him. And I got to say, the Republicans just keep defending him because they have absolutely no spine. They have absolutely no principles. They have no character, none whatsoever. Sleepy-eyed son of a bitch. Really, was that necessary? We get it. You hate the media. We get it. You don't like NBC. You don't like MSNBC. You don't like CNN. You don't like CBS. You don't like ABC. You don't like any news except for fake news. We get it. You're a propagandist. We understand. You get, done with your day, and the last thing you do is call Sean Hannity. We get it. This is your guru. He thinks he's still some sort of a reality TV star, which is all he ever was. And that is what he thinks he is. And he actually admits it to his audience, on Saturday night. I don't know if you caught this because, most people have a life. No, not me. Most people do, though. And this thing was unbelievable, where he actually told the people that, being presidential, he mocked being presidential right there. You could see like what he was building up to. And then he closes with, but that's easier than what I have to do. Meaning he has to lie. He has to be a TV star. He has to be a character. He has to be a reality TV show host. He has to be a reality TV show contestant in order to get people to come out to his rallies. He has to be the entertainment at the wedding, is what it is. We don't need an entertainer. We have plenty of entertainers. In fact, I thought that Republicans hated the whole entertainment industry. And yet this president sees his role, not as a president, but his role is to be the entertainer in chief. This is what he said. But here's what he said about drug dealers, which, you know, should send a chill down your spine. He's talking about China, but he's also said other countries. He's talking about Duterte and the Philippines.
The only way to solve the drug problem is through toughness. When you catch a drug dealer, you gotta put him away for a long time. When I was in China, and other places, by the way,
Philippines,
I said, Mr. President, do you have a drug problem? No, we do not. I said, big country, 1.4 billion people, right? Not much of a drug problem. I said, what do you attribute that to? Well, the death penalty. So, hey, if you're a drug dealer and you know you're going to get caught and you know that you're going to kill people, you're killing our kids. They're killing our kids. They're killing our kids. They're killing our families. They're killing our workers. You know, we have a hard time. Of the 100 million people, that special group of people, they're great people. They want to work. We have a hard time. A lot of them can't qualify to work in these factories. Chrysler's coming back in. You saw that from Mexico to Michigan. We have companies coming back into the United States. You haven't seen that. I used to tell you that was going to happen, but now it's happening. But a lot of people can't qualify because of drugs.
Oh.
But I said to the president, I said, so you don't have much of a problem? No. And they had a problem. You know, if you go back 200 years ago, they know all about drugs. It was devastating to China. The opium, devastating. It destroyed China. And I'm not going to let it destroy us.
He's insane. Can I really play you what the DEA says the real problem is? Well, first of all, we have a demand problem for drugs. We also have a prescribing problem. I told you on Friday about how Howard went to the urgent care because he fell in the dog park and he fell hard on concrete on his back. And, you know, he's had back surgery before. And so he was really, really scared. And we took him to the urgent care. And before the x-ray, she never touched him. I mean, the doctor doesn't touch you anymore. It's like you're just, you know, you're full of some disease. They won't even, you know, like lift your shirt to see if he's bleeding. Nothing, no inspection, no touching. Just, what on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? Well, it's a 9. All right, so for you, we have fentanyl, we have Dilaudid. I'm like, what? Yeah, and she keeps going. We got Loratab, we got Percocet, we got Oxys, we got, you know, what would you like? Because you could have a patch, you could have a pill, or we could give you a shot. I said, that's a buffet of addiction, and you haven't even taken his x-ray yet. Why not an ibuprofen to take down the swelling? It's swollen back there. You should really take a look and see whether or not he needs a stitch. How about that? No, she's offering a buffet of addiction. I'm telling you. Every time I tell this story, I told the story to all my friends over the weekend, and they all said I should report her. Everybody said, you know, and one of my friends, I'll just put it that way so that I don't get phone calls, is a doctor. And, you know, they all stick up for each other. It's really kind of creepy. But anyway, yeah. So well, that's not right. So should I report her? Oh, no. But let me show you what happened, okay? This is Joe Renazzazi, who needed support because he was going to roll up a company that was a drug dealer. It was a drug dealer, except that they were a legal drug dealer. They were a distributor of the pharmaceuticals wares.
You talk to some people in Washington, at the DEA, his higher-ups at the DEA or at the Justice Department, and certainly in Congress, they think he was too aggressive, to the point of being boorish.
What I needed was support. And it infuriated me that I was over there trying to explain what my motives were or why I was going after these corporations. And when I went back to the office and I sat down with my staff, I basically said, you know, I just got questioned on why we're doing what we're doing. This is war. We're going after these people and we're not going to stop.
He's not the most diplomatic person you've ever come across.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but he makes a good whistleblower.
He makes a great whistleblower, and he's got a reason to be upset.
Because it just hurts when somebody says, well, DEA should be doing more. DEA was doing everything it could. DEA ran into a wall.
Do you think this investigation by 60 Minutes and the Washington Post will make waves?
I sure hope so. This is a terrible crisis. What I would hope would happen from this story is that Americans get angry.
It would be nice if Americans would get angry. It would be nice if the president actually recognized where the problem starts. It would be good if he was smart, but he's not smart. He's stupid and he's bad. This is unbelievable. This whole story about Joe Renazzi and the DEA agents that tried very hard to roll up the distribution of these pills that were, I mean, it was so obvious. They were going to little teeny towns that had maybe 500 people. And all of a sudden, 1 million pills would show up at a mom and pop pharmacy, you know?
Retired DEA agent Dave Schiller spoke for the first time to 60 Minutes. He says that the settlement against drug company McKesson was too lenient. Here's a preview of Bill Whitaker's report.
This is the best case we've ever had against a major distributor in the history of the Drug Enforcement Administration. How do we not go after the #1 organization? In the height of the epidemic, when people are dying everywhere, doesn't somebody have to be held accountable? McKesson needs to be held accountable.
Yeah, and, you know, this is the and what Trump would like to do is kill you. What Trump would like to do is extrajudicial killings. He would like to have little motorcycle squads driving all over your little town and just picking off your kids, picking off, you know, your mother, picking you off if you, you know, have been overprescribed or if you've been, you know, somehow, you know, you went to an urgent care and they let you walk out of there with a 1-week supply of fentanyl patches, which will get you addicted in 1 week. I've seen it. But Trump would like to kill you. This is his solution. It's the Philippine Duterte solution. It's the communist Chinese solution. Extrajudicial killings. What kind of a sick freak do we have? And he's calling Chuck Todd a son of a bitch? You're the son of a bitch.
Far-right ideology is the way of reunifying the old Soviet empire. And so for him, what his play has been to the Trumps, Le Pens, Farages, and the rest is it's not about Britain. It's not about the United States. It's not about France. It's about right-wing white nationalism across borders. It's scary, and that's in a way it's what fills in this pattern. So, but we're still talking about Bannon, and I believe we have some audio. So why don't we go there?
Yeah, Mark, do we have the quick 30 seconds of Bannon making just an outrageous comment among many at the French fascist conference?
I can tell you one thing after going all over the world and observing this. History is on our side. And the biggest reason the globalists have no answers to freedom. Let them call you racist.
Laissez-vous appeler raciste.
Let them call you xenophobes.
Mais laissez-vous appeler xénophobe.
Let them call you nativist.
Laissez-vous les appeler nativistes.
Wear it as a badge of honor, because every day we get stronger and they get weaker. Thank you very much. God bless America, and vive la France.
Yeah, German history's on your side, buddy.
I was going to say, history's on their side. I believe I liked it better when that was delivered in the original German. It didn't work then. It wasn't on that guy's side. He's dead as far as I know.
They run successful beef farm worth millions.
They really are. It's not possible to know what side history's on. I mean, how much it is on their side. But just the arrogance with which they proclaim that. I've been all around. I'd like to know where he's been telling history's on his side.
Not Alabama.
Yeah. Well,
no,
not right now.
No, not Alabama.
But the point is
Western Pennsylvania.
Right. But the point is that these guys are part of now a global conspiracy. They're in cahoots with Putin. As you said, Putin's been doing this for years. If you sort of study up on what the Russians have been up to, they've been financing these far-right groups in Europe for years now. They set up these think tanks. You know, Donald Trump Jr. actually had liaised with one a couple years ago, and they're pushing the same message as Bannon and Le Pen now. And clearly you've got Trump's top people liaising with fascist groups in Europe.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
It's hard to believe, but it was only a week ago today that Sam Nunberg was on all the cable. I mean, he just didn't do cable. He did all the cable. And some of them he did 3 and 4 times, right? To say that Mueller could go F himself. He was not going to testify. They couldn't. He didn't care if he went to jail. It would be funny if he got to jail. It didn't matter. He's not going. He's not going to drop a dime on Roger Stone. He is. And then Friday, he testified for, 7 hours in front of the grand jury. And then he gave an interview after the testimony.
I think Vladimir Putin, if you look at it objectively, is really taking advantage of the president.
Appearing before the Mueller grand jury, he spent at least 6 hours testifying about what he knew when it came to Russia's involvement in the 2016 election.
Vladimir Putin, I think we all could agree, wanted Donald Trump to win.
Saying he was grilled about current and former staffers named in the investigation.
I've never worked with anybody that was unethical there. I just never have.
You never work with
including
Michael
political
Cohen?
strategist Roger Stone, a close confidant of President Trump, who he calls a mentor. Stone denied any knowledge or involvement in Russian collusion. Are you worried about him?
Yes, I'm very worried about him.
This comes as Nunberg had a bizarre media blitz.
I'm not cooperating, arrest me.
When he publicly challenged the court-ordered subpoena.
I'm going to be the first one in history to flat out say, I'm not going.
Now, Nunberg walking back that fiery rhetoric, saying the rants were just for show.
People say I had a meltdown on TV. I melted TV down that day. I wanted to show what this independent counsel, this independent investigation, does to people like me.
Also striking a much different tone.
I was going to always comply with arriving today. I'm an attorney. That's the first thing. And this is my duty as an American to do.
So he sat on TV and he lied to us, right? That's what he did. He played everybody in the media. I melted TV down. See, for them, it's all about entertainment. And no matter what they do and no matter what they say, and as soon as it gets close to jail time or violating a subpoena or being held in contempt of court or whatever, oh, no, I was just playing you. I was having fun is what it was. Listen, Trump's friend Vlad has apparently poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent, the type developed by the Russian government, a guy and his daughter who were found on a bus bench. And today, Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the UK, actually said that there's a deadline for Vlad to tell her, the deadline tomorrow, before she announces what her retaliatory response against Russia will be. He's got a date certain tomorrow at close of business UK time. Vlad better tell what happened to this nerve agent Novichok that was used to poison these 2 people on a bus bench in London. Also, 500 people were around them at the time, and they all were told, you better go home and wash all your clothes and take hot showers. 500, citizens of the UK were around this area and touched things that these 2 people who are in comas now came in contact with. So she's not playing. But this is Donald Trump's friend, Vlad. Right? This is the guy he likes. He likes him. He likes Duterte. He likes President Xi, who just anointed himself, president for life of China and is bringing back the communism to the Communist Republic of China. These are the guys that he's modeling his presidency after. Somebody needs to stop this. And that tomorrow in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, you have a chance to send a very loud message that this is not the America of your birth. We don't extrajudicially kill people. We don't praise Vladimir Putin, who has a record of conducting state-sponsored assassinations of journalists and people he doesn't like, and anybody he thinks might drop a dime on him. I'm sorry, but that is not a... And you've got the president sounding more like a Russian communist or a Chinese communist with the censorship of the media, and the media is an enemy of the people, and don't read newspapers, and it's all fake, and it's all fun. We'll see. We'll see. Because I'll tell you something. I think Mueller is done with the obstruction portion of the case, And I think he's made his case on obstruction. I think he's pretty clear after speaking to Hope Hicks that they tried to cover up the Trump Tower meeting and that Hope Hicks was responsible for helping draft the letter written by Donald Trump himself on the airplane coming back from the G8 summit, from Germany, and that they lied and said that this Trump Tower meeting was about adoptions and that they were assuring each other that these emails would never come to light. And then idiot boy, Donald Trump Jr. actually releases his emails. I think they understand that Michael Cohen paid off a hooker, I'm sorry, I apologize, to Stormy Daniels, Stephanie Clifford. I apologize to you. You're not a hooker. You are a movie producer, a movie director. You are an adult film actress. And because I have watched adult films a time or two in my life, I refuse to be a hypocrite. But you got Michael Cohen, taking out home equity loans to prove his loyalty to this guy who loves Vlad the Impaler. You've got Michael Cohen writing letters on behalf of the Trump organization during the campaign about trying to build Trump Tower Moscow. You've got the firing of James Comey. You've got Trump idiot boy on TV telling Lester Holt, this Russia thing is what it was. You got Don Jr. and Jared Kushner and a group of Russians at Trump Tower and Hope Hicks and Donald Sr. trying to cover it up. You got an attempt to fire Jeff Sessions. You got an attempt to fire Rod Rosenstein. You got an attempt to fire Mueller. That's all obstruction. That's all obstruction. And I think Mueller's got that. I think that he's probably not going to release any of those findings until after he speaks to some people he hasn't spoken to. And remember, he hasn't spoken to the president. He hasn't spoken to Keith Schiller, who was there in Moscow at the Ritz-Carlton. He hasn't talked to him. He's only had a limited interview with Kushner. He hasn't spoken to Ivanka. He hasn't spoken to Junior. So I don't think he's going to release the findings before he speaks to them. But I think he's got the obstruction case. I think we're done with that part, and I think he's now into the money laundering heavily. I think he's also into, mob stuff. I really do. I think he's into it. And I think he's going to get there. And that's why Sam Nunberg keeps telling you it's not a witch hunt. He's asking me about his business. He's asking me about his business. I think he thinks Trump did something wrong, and he might have. All Nunberg is worried about is Roger Stone knowing ahead of time that all this stuff was going to be dumped on Podesta, and Podesta's next in the barrel, famous, right? And Junior also retweeting the links that he was sent by WikiLeaks and the direct messages. And, while Congress will not do its job and Congress will not subpoena Twitter to get those direct messages, Robert Mueller will, or already has, and knows. And knows. And a lot of people are going to go to jail. A lot of people. A lot of people. Leona in Michigan.
Hey, Randy, I just want to say you are nothing but the truth on your show.
It's true. Well, you know how you could tell? I post all my shows, and you could go and listen to them and see if I was right.
Oh, you are so right. Today, your show was hitting right on with the drug issues, with everything.
Because I was just going to say, this has nothing to do with gangs. It has to do with big pharma getting people totally addicted to their products. And then the distribution network seeing the demand and shipping all this stuff to people and pharmacies that couldn't possibly have this many customers or have patients who need all these pills.
Well, Randy, when, as middle class, lower class, whatever your class is, when have we ever had the money to bring in the kind of drugs that have come in? Only people with big connections, whether it's political or pharmaceutical corporations, when have we had the money to bring it in? They get you in on the prescription, then you have to find other ways to keep up your habit.
Yeah, and if you talk to doctors, or you look at any of the studies, they will all tell you the gateway drug is prescription pills. And what happens is people can't afford them anymore. And so they go to something cheaper, and that would be the heroin. And if this president was at all serious about doing anything meaningful on this heroin epidemic, on this opioid epidemic, he would actually allow the DEA to bust these distributors, and then he would do something about the demand side for the heroin epidemic. But he's not serious. He wants to kill people.
Well, do you think that he's going to let his little mob-connected friends that I'm sure bring in a lot of this stuff, he's going to let them go down? No. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. That brings money into him. And he makes it look good because he makes all this noise, but he's not doing nothing. He's the worst president we've ever had. And I've been around like you've been around.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything so bad for our country as this presidency and this cabinet. They need to just scrub them all.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to vote. People have to vote.
Well, he is literally going to end up in the White House with with no one. I mean, right now, what does he have left? Okay, he's got Anthony Scaramucci doing the TV thing, but he's not part of the administration. He's got Steve Bannon preaching racism over in France, but he's not part of the administration anymore. Michael Flynn pled guilty. He's got like no one left in the. Tom Price had to resign because he was doing insider trading, which he admitted to during his confirmation hearing, and still the Republicans voted for him. Okay, you've got Betsy DeVos, who's never taught a day of school in her life, as our education secretary, who just now she's going to be in charge of guns and the drug epidemic. You got Kellyanne Conway, who's under investigation for violation of the Hatch Act. You have Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's been demonstrably a liar. You got Raj Shah on TV this weekend auditioning for Sarah's job, admitting that if there was collusion, the president would know about it, which was very unfortunate for him. This man is so ham-handed. And all you got left is Ivanka and Jared, who are also on Mueller's schedule to be deposed and spoken to and give testimony to the grand jury. This man is going to be all alone in the White House eating Kentucky Fried Chicken and tweeting.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I listen to your show, like, religiously. We're not going to let you go down if your show needs the money. All you're going to have to do is just keep up asking people to buy podcasts or do more.
Well, you know what I was thinking, not just thinking of doing, what I've been working on is a lot of people who have the podcast. I mean, we sold a lot of podcasts. And so the people that have them, sometimes they're disappointed that it's only audio, that the podcasts are, listen only, and that there's no video. So I have spent a lot of money developing a new website, which is ready, but I'm not launching it until probably next week because I want to play with it and make sure that you're getting your password reset emails. I want to make sure that you could log in on the front page. A lot of things that I've learned over the last year and a half. So, but we're going to include video with the premium podcast also, so that if you just want to listen on your phone in the car, go ahead and just click the audio player. If you want to watch at home or on your phone when you're sitting on the couch, you will then be able to do that as part of the premium podcast. But what we're going to have to do is grandfather in everybody who's already bought one at the price that it is now, and then raise the price for newcomers. And that's how we're going to pay the tax bill.
Well, you know what, people, you are nothing but the truth on your program. People will pay the extra to hear the truth, because right now we're paying out of our butt.
I know.
Your lies.
I know.
So really, there's no equal to what you do.
Well, thank you.
We love you.
I love you. I do. Thank you, Leona.
Take care.
You too, honey.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, love her. Some of our people are just so beautiful. Some are cult members. I mean, I really would love to debate the cult members. I'm so serious about that. You can't go on, they invited me on Fox News about 2 weekends ago, but it was for one of the really crappy weekend shows. I thought if it was Arthel's show, remember Arthel used to do our show every Friday? So I thought if it was Arthel's show, Arthel Neville, then I would go on it because at least she's, she's got decency and manners. But it wasn't. It was some other... a woman, she's a girl who wrote a book about being pretty, swear to God, and how being pretty is something she uses to get ahead in television. I swear. And when I saw what she was out there hawking and everything, I said, I cannot go on this girl's show. And they wanted me to go on the show and debate. And I said, okay, what's the they wouldn't give you a topic. And I said, you know what? They'll just turn my mic off because that is what they do. But if you want, I mean, Jack Kingston is, you want to debate. I've invited Jack Kingston to come on this show. Mics don't get turned off on it. He could do it in person. He could do it on the phone. I don't give a rat's. Or any of the Scaramucci, he wants to come on the show. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Because you will lose is the reason they don't do it. This is the worst. But, it could be just the most, like Oprah said, be a warrior for the light. I think she means work for the impeachment of the darkness. The darkness has got to be banished. You have to send a message to the darkness saying you are not welcome here, that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and you're a germ. You're nothing but like a MRSA. And it seems like it's taken over. But we are the probiotics. Well, now we're the antibiotics because we got to fight him. And we have to send a message as we remove him that you cannot do this. Okay, America might be culty, and about 30% of the people might be culty and racist and ugly, but 70% of the body politic, of the electorate, of the normal people who live in this country are sickened by this. Just nauseated and scared. Some people are a little scared too. Because if it walks like a demagogue and it talks like a dictator and it quacks like a communist, it probably is. But I can't believe he did. And the media, I don't know. I mean, today they were covering Stormy Daniels wants to give the $130K back so she could speak freely. You know why? 60 Minutes. There's already an interview in the can. Anderson Cooper already interviewed her. And she wants to have it released. And the White House is suing so it won't air. Buy a stinking podcast.